What is up, Watch fam, and welcome to Rant&h. I am Christian from Theo Harris. Before we get into it, I want to thank my friend John, who owns Grain in Garwood, New Jersey, for allowing us to use his space. We're actually in his baking spot right now, so it's a baking room, bakery. So it's really cool. They do lunches and they do bread. So if you live in the vague vicinity, of Garwood, New Jersey, anything from 35 minutes out, check it out for lunch. Bring a friend. It's really, really good. Quick wristwatch check before we get into my very passionate rant. I am wearing a killer vintage chronograph marked Win. It's a Panda dial powered by Valjoux. It's a super cool watch. I actually just got it in today, so really enjoying it. So apart from that, ready to do a little ranting. I'm late on this. I should have released this video 2 weeks ago, and I didn't because I didn't really want to. There are certain things that you just don't want to talk about sometimes. Some things that I don't necessarily think deserve your time, and I think that's how I felt about this piece of news in the beginning. But now I think as it's gone by, my thoughts have matured a little bit, and I think it's now the time to release a video about it. So Omega is now going to sell sunglasses. Omega, the watch brand, that is a part of the Swatch Group, made famous by the Speedmaster. Everyone loves it. # Speedy Tuesdays. The Seamaster is one of my favorite watches in the world, and it's a watch brand. They're not a lifestyle brand like Hermes. They're not a lifestyle brand like even Tiffany in a lot of ways. They are a watch brand, and now basically following really poor sales for quite a long time is Swatch Group as a whole. It's not just Omega acting independently. I mean, it's a Swatch Group move. Has decided they're going to start selling sunglasses in their boutiques exclusively. Start off with a brief moment as to why anyone would even buy sunglasses from almost any luxury brand today. In the world of Warby Parker, I think it's become increasingly more unnecessary and irrelevant or bizarre, right, to buy $500 sunglasses. And their prices have not been released online yet, but that's why I'm assuming that they're going to be super expensive items. And for Omega to move into what I think is going to be a dying market in the next 4 years is another bizarre move. Warby Parker is eating up enormous share in the sunglass and eyeglass industry. I have no idea, and it's not just Warby Parker. It's the movement started by Warby Parker that is now being taken on by so many other brands, a lot of Asian brands, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know why. Of all of the irrelevant things Omega could have gotten into, why sunglasses, in my opinion, a dying industry? Or luxury sunglasses, the dying industry. Before Omega moves into a separate industry, right? Before Omega jumps into anything, and I certainly don't think it should have been sunglasses, but before they did any other move into a separate industry, I genuinely feel like Omega has not done their due diligence in doubling down on watches. I think that Omega has plenty of room to improve in their watch sales. I can see a super strong company, right? If they were really just killing it on watch sales, if they had a streamlined production line, if they, if they were really just murdering it, right? No losses, no stagnant sales, serious increases. I could see that company, cashing in and saying, okay, we own so much of the public's attention, let's also sell something else, right? But this is kind of like an Omega move to just grasp at straws when they're falling. And I genuinely do think that Omega will be a very strong company in the next 5 years for a lot of other reasons. But to me, this was absolutely the wrong way to try to capitalize on their existing market share. Well, what should they have done, Christian? You can't just criticize. They should have become the only authority in straps in the watch industry. Jean Rousseau, Camille Fournet, right? That's on the high end. Then you go down, and there are Crown and Buckle, right? There's cheapest NATO straps. There's Blue Shark straps. There are all these strap companies, right? And they're all, I'm sure, doing well, or they're moving straps, right? But nobody has the potential to move straps to the mass market like Omega does, right? And they're just not. I'm not sure if you can go into Omega and buy a strap. I genuinely don't know. But even if that's even a possibility, even if they would allow that, which they might if you own a Speedmaster and you could say, hey, I'm looking to swap out a strap, whatever. But even if that is a possibility, they are by no means marketing it as something that they do and do well. They are not an authority on straps. Meanwhile, I'm not sure who makes their straps. It could be Camille Fournet. I'm not really sure who it is. But they have very highly acclaimed straps. Their OEM straps are great. A lot of their NATOs are terrific. I'm sure that their leather is great, whatever. But their potential as a part of the Swatch Group to actually become the mass market, like Big Daddy in the strap industry is huge. I genuinely think that let's say you own a vintage, let's say you own this watch, right? A vintage, Valjoux Panda dial. And you're a vintage guy, right? And let's say you want to remove the strap that I have on it. you have a couple options. You have Hodinkee and all these other brands. You even have Theo Harris. There are plenty of people. But I think it would be in Omega's best interest to sell me an Omega strap, because I'm walking into the store, right? And now I have to buy a strap, and they treat me really well. And they're also, of course, going to show me their watches. And I'm probably not going to walk out of there with a Speedmaster. Statistically, I don't think I'm likely to walk out, going in for a strap, walking out with a watch. But every day now, I look down at my watch and I see Omega. Yeah, I also see this brand, which is not a brand, it's just a stamp. But I'm seeing Omega. And Omega, this is a morsel, right? The strap is a morsel of the luxury that Omega offers. And every day that company could remind me how much I want an Omega in the next 2 years. And they missed that. And instead of doing that move, which would have been brilliant, they are selling a product that has the Omega and sunglasses. They have no market equity in the sunglass industry, right? Which I already contend is probably dying. Like I said, there are these huge companies that are up and coming and trying to steal market share and doing it really well. And why are they doing it well? Because they're uprooting the establishment, as it stands. Ultimately, Omega is grasping at straws. It's pathetic. Omega, in my opinion, is too large and too successful of a company to make what I think is such an amateur move. They're Omega. Be an authority in watches and watch-related things. You want to do rolls down the line in 5 years? That's fine. Watch rolls, whatever. I think that's a little bit disconnected, but that's fine. But right now, become an authority in what you're already doing. It doesn't make any sense that they would, now as they're kind of falling in sales, grasp at straws and pick up sunglasses of all things. It's just as relevant as Omega shoes, Omega t-shirts. It doesn't make any sense. They're trying to sell this brand, this Omega brand, which to me, I don't really give a shit. Maybe I want it on my watch, but what is an Omega sunglass? Does it really stand for the luxury that Omega watches do? No, of course not. It's ridiculous. So no, when you go into Omega, please don't even consider buying the sunglasses. I guess you can try them on or whatever. But beyond that, go to Warby Parker. Go to the people who are actually challenging the establishment. People that are charging $100 for sunglasses, which you're probably going to enjoy just as much as the $500 Omegas. And that's to you guys. To Omega, get your act together, become an authority in your own world, and invest in your relevant consumer now, so in 5 years they want that Speedmaster. That's what it is. Thank you guys for watching Rant&h. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoyed the video. Oh, and also down below there's a link to our video that came out on Friday where we gave you a killer wine recommendation in our series called Liquor Run. Wine was like $12 and it was awesome. Give it a shot.